Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Metal Chaos with your host, Dave. In a minute or two, I'm going to have special guest vocalist for MindMaze, Sarah Teets, on here with me. So hold on, let me call her up and get her on the air, and let's get this interview started. Hold on.
Hello.
Good evening, Sarah. You're live on the Pits of Metal Chaos. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Just good. So how you guys doing through the coronavirus?
Well, it's been challenging. Well, I guess in a sense like this normally wouldn't be a good thing, but for us, we don't, make a living off of our music. The band pays for itself, but it's not how we pay our bills. So, thankfully, that's been a good thing in this situation. Jeff and I both work grocery-related jobs, so we've been working through this whole thing, and I mean, that in and of itself has been pretty stressful, and then just the uncertainty of not knowing, at this point, even when we might play our next show again. So, it's definitely been challenging, but, we're hanging in there.
Now, are you guys writing any new music while you guys are, quarantined?
Yeah, we've been trying to work on, we've been working on for a while now. We've been working on new music that was supposed to be part of an EP that we were supposed to have released a while ago already, but, various circumstances in our lives and our engineer's life and everything have kind of delayed that already. But I guess kind of the good news for that is that, when we kind of come out of this thing, there's a good chance that people are probably going to get a full-length album instead of just an EP, so it should hopefully be worth the wait for how long everything's taken. It's been a little hard because our engineer Brian he's struggled with a bunch of health issues in the past, and his immune system is very compromised, so he hasn't been seeing any clients throughout this whole coronavirus thing because he can't take the risk of getting sick, and we wouldn't want to put him at risk either. So, we haven't been able to go to the studio, so we've been kind of trying to just do whatever we can at home and, just kind of try to work on the music itself and just do the things we can and, see what happens.
Now, you guys did just release the cover version of Queensryche Road to Madness recently.
Yes, we did. And, well, it's funny, that track was actually picked for us to cover by somebody who backed one of our Kickstarter projects a while back when we went on tour with Saxon and Armored Saint. And when he first kind of said to us, like, this is the song I want you to do, we were like, oh boy, that's gonna be a tough one. But we ended up like really enjoying doing it, and we thought it came out so well that we were like, I don't want to just keep this as a Kickstarter exclusive. We kind of want to release it to the entire fan base and let everybody hear it. And the feedback has been really, really positive so far, so it's definitely been awesome.
Yeah, you guys did a good job covering that song.
Thank you.
9 minutes of it.
It is a long one for sure. And there's like the section in the middle that kind of has the more like, or the orchestra and the strings and all that kind of stuff. And it's like the moody part. We for the longest time we were kind of like, I don't know what to do with that. But Jeff did a lot of really cool guitar texture stuff in there, and then I played flute and piccolo over it, and we recorded the choir bit, like the choir layers, as just me and Jeff singing all those parts. So that was actually really awesome to do, and I loved recording that. So definitely glad we didn't cut any of that out.
So how long did it take to record the song?
That it actually didn't take. It wasn't that long. At this point, it's hard for me to really go back and total up how many hours we used to record it, because it was a bunch of sessions that took place over a pretty big span of time. I mean, it's kind of like we just were sort of sitting on it for a little while after it was done. But surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. One of the things that I think kind of helped. Jeff actually plays drums on that track. He plays drums periodically. Like he was doing it just for fun. And then when we went to go in to record our last album, Resolve, our original drummer Kalen had just left the band, and we had somebody lined up that we were actually just going to pay to be a session musician on the album that ended up bailing on us like pretty last minute, and it turned into Jeff just recording the drums on half the album, because at that point, at the point that we were going in the studio to record the album, our now current drummer Mark had like just joined the band, and the material was all new to him, and even like him being in like a progressive power metal band at all, that was new to him. So Jeff knew all the songs inside and out, because he and Rich, our bass player, wrote everything. So he kind of knew them like the back of his hand. So he's like, I'll record, the song. Mark did play on half of Resolve, but Jeff played it on the other half. So he ended up doing the same thing with the Roads to Madness cover, and I think that just kind of helped. Like, he just knew the song so well, so that kind of saved some time there as far as learning it goes, and with how much is involved in that song. Just, I know for myself, when I had to sit down and really learn it all, I was like, there's just a lot to this.
Yeah, but you guys were able to get through it all and get it done, and came out good.
Awesome.
So now the band MindMaze originally started as Necromance?
Yeah, sort of. It's weird. Like Necromance was the original band that Jeff and I formed together when we were in high school, which seems so long ago. At this point, we passed the 15-year anniversary of like our first show as Necromance a little while ago, back in March. So yeah, that was like our band that we formed together when we were in high school, and did a whole bunch of stuff. And there is a 2009 demo, Necromance demo, that does have a couple of the songs that made it onto the first MindMaze album. The demo was actually called Never Look Back, and Never Look Back is the first song on our debut album, Mask of Lies. So there were a couple songs that carried over from Necromance to MindMaze. So it's like, yeah, in a way, it was kind of like the original version of this band, but, I know for us, it was like, we just did so much growing up as Necromance, and we were kids back then, and, some of the stuff that we did, like when we watch back to some of the videos, that people took, we just laugh at it now. So it seems like a totally different lifetime ago, but yeah, some of the songs came from Necromance, so that was kind of like the original incarnation.
Then 2012, MindMaze was born.
Yes, yep. We kind of were just like, we got to a point and that we were like, we're about to go into the studio to record like a professional album, a full-length album. It's time to just like reincarnate this thing as like our adult band, and sort of start out with a clean slate. So that's how we kind of came about deciding to, rename ourselves as MindMaze.
Then how did that name come about?
It's funny, a lot of people ask us that, and we kind of just like sat around for a while and like brainstormed ideas, and we had a couple different things going. At this point, I don't I don't even remember what some of the other options were, but, you know, we kind of just brainstormed ideas and came up with some things, and, you know, there was that computer game from Microsoft Encarta from, like, the 90s that I think that's where the idea of the name MindMaze kind of got in somebody's head. It was from that game. So it kind of came from there, but, you know, it wasn't like we intentionally went out and were like, let's name ourselves after that Microsoft Encarta game. We just, you know, sort of brainstormed ideas, and yep, then we ended up with MindMaze.
Now, do you guys have a good following in your hometown of Pennsylvania?
It's weird. We do have some fans locally, but we actually have a much better following in a bunch of other places around the country. There isn't exactly a huge scene for really metal at all in, like, the area of Pennsylvania that we live, and we live, like, in the Allentown area, like Lehigh Valley, and that's about an hour north of Philadelphia. And yeah, so there really isn't much of a scene here, so it's been kind of hard to develop much of a local following. Like, when we do local gigs, which we usually do, like, you know, a couple a year, maybe like 2 or something like that. That, you know, they usually do well, and there's people there, and we do have fans here, but, you know, we certainly see more success in other areas that are really not near where we live at all, which has kind of been, you know, interesting to see over the years.
So what are some of your favorite towns to play in?
Our top favorite is Baltimore, Maryland. We love Baltimore, and we've really just developed such a relationship with so many people there. There was a really awesome promoter that ran a, like, female-fronted metal festival for years down there. Her name's Bobby Dickerson, and her festival was Flight of the Valkyries. And she is actually the person that she actually kind of got in contact with me and Jeff back when we were still Necromance, and, like, one that had interest in bringing us down there back then, but it just never worked out. But we ended up making it down in 2013, so this is like within the first year of MindMaze being a band, and played a show for her, and she always has treated us awesome, and that just kind of developed into a bigger thing. She got us in with Baltimore Soundstage, which is a venue that brings in national touring acts. We've opened for so many bands there. We just played there with Y&T, and that was our second time played there with Primal Fear, we played there with Evergrey, we played there with Iced Earth, so we've opened for a lot of cool bands there, and, you know, we have a really awesome fan base in that area. Baltimore, like Northern Virginia and DC, that's probably one of our strongest areas for sure. And probably our other favorite out of everywhere is up in New England. We have played a venue in Worcester, Massachusetts called Ralph Steiner several times. We were actually set to go back there in March and make our return, and we were so excited about that, and then everything got canceled. So
yeah,
we couldn't make it back, but I'm sure we will be back at some point because we love playing at Ralph's. It's a great, like, there's another great promoter up there, Chris, who puts together these shows, Metal Thursday, and, you know, they're always packed, and the people there are great. They also do an awesome thing for Halloween. They always put together these shows where bands it'll be like members of different bands that come together, and they play like tribute sets. They play like sets as bands. We did 2 of the Halloween shows for Chris. Back in 2016, we played as Wasp, and then in 2018, we played as Black Sabbath. We did the entire Heaven and Hell album. So that was really fun, and those turnouts were awesome. But yeah, so probably Worcester, Massachusetts, and Baltimore are like my top two.
Now, has the band ever played out of the country yet?
Technically, yes. We played a few shows in Canada. We haven't been out of North America yet, but we did play in Canada. We did 3 shows in Canada back in 2017 when we did our full-length tour. When we were supporting Arcona and Serenia, we did a show in Quebec City, Montreal, and then also Toronto. And then the following year, we did our own tour. It was our No Rest in the Midwest tour, and we went back to Toronto. So we've played in Canada now 4 times, but we've been working for a while on trying to get over to Europe, but I have a feeling that's going to get a little bit more delayed now because all the festivals and everything over there got canceled for this year, and most festivals and everything are planning on just carrying over their lineups that they had booked for this year to next year. So that's probably gonna, prevent us from being able to get added on to anything for next year. But
Right.
It's definitely in the works, and it's a big priority for us for sure.
Now, do you guys get a lot of fans from overseas, like Europe, that message you want you guys come over there and play?
We've been in contact with a bunch of bands that have had interest in doing shows with us in Europe. It's always so hard trying to get all the ducks in a row, and money is obviously a huge issue with that as well. Like we're completely willing. We've talked about it in the past about even putting our own money towards just making it happen and paying our own travel costs to get over there. Just because, the travel costs are so high, it'd be really hard to get paid enough to cover all those costs. So we have talked to like a few bands that we've definitely been trying to work something out with. So far, all the logistics haven't exactly worked out right yet. But I think that we're getting close to figuring something out and making it happen.
Awesome. So now, Sarah, what's your history in music? What age did you start singing?
Oh boy, so I mean, I've pretty much just been singing like forever. It started out for me when I was a little kid. We were 90s kids, so we grew up on Disney movies. I was really obsessed with Pocahontas because that was like the movie that was new at the time, that it just seemed like I started wanting to sing, and I just always would go around the house singing all those songs. But like, I was so embarrassed to sing in front of anyone. I would like make people stand outside of out of the room, and I would have to sing without them looking at me because I was like too embarrassed. So that was like when I started singing. So I want to say that I was probably like, at that point I was like 8 or something. And then when I got into school, I never really wanted to like join chorus or anything because I wasn't into singing that kind of stuff for the longest time. But when I was in 8th grade, I had a music teacher that, we would just do some singing stuff in music class, just, as little exercises or whatever. And he was like, you have to join chorus. Like, I literally really think you should because, I think you can sing well, so you should consider it. And at that point, then I did, and that kind of got me really into all that kind of stuff. When I was in high school, I was in basically every singing group that existed, and I did like all kinds of stuff. My one singing group in high school, the chorale, we went and sang at the White House for Christmas in 2003. So that was cool. We sang at Disney, done a bunch of stuff. So it was just weird. I kind of had to get pushed into starting, but once I did, then I was just totally obsessed with it. And I mean, all kinds of stuff, like musical theater, singing stuff. It's funny, I never did that in high school, but I really enjoy the music, and I like singing that stuff, and all kinds of genres of music, and yeah, so that's, it's weird. And when I was younger, we actually, the first kind of music we really started listening to as kids, other than Disney stuff, is country music. And, as a metal singer now, it's weird to say that, because it just seems so strange, but that's what we grew up on, so that's another thing that I kind of started singing at a pretty young age. And then when I was about 12 or so, we had a friend that lived on the block that his dad listened to a bunch of classic rock, and he listened to rock music, and once we started hanging out and became friends and everything, we started getting into that stuff too. And then it was kind of like once I discovered what rock and metal music was, it just totally consumed my life. So
So what age were you when you realized you could be front woman for a band singing?
Well, I mean, Jeff and I started doing necromance when I think we technically started we didn't have a name and formed a band yet, but, we had gear and stuff and tried to start playing, in a garage when I was, 15 and he was, 13. So, it was probably around the time I was, 14 or 15 was when I really started to want to sing in a band and do that, then be a front person for a metal band.
Now, were your parents supportive of you guys?
Definitely. I mean, my mom has been extremely supportive of us with basically everything that we've done in our whole life, and she totally loves metal now too, so that was kind of cool. My dad's still not too into metal, but he always talks about us to his friends and everything. So I think it took a little while for the idea of us playing in a band to grow on him. Probably wasn't super stoked about it in the beginning, but now that we've been doing it a while, and it's really obvious that we're serious about it, and we've done a lot of the things that we've done, I know he's proud and supportive of us, so yeah.
Now, did you take any vocal lessons at all?
I actually haven't. Basically the only kind of lessons I really took were, stuff that I did in school, which weren't private lessons at all. Don't get me wrong, they certainly taught us a lot of stuff. I learned a lot about certain techniques and warm-ups and things to do to help keep your voice healthy, but I never really took private lessons or anything and had somebody work with me one-on-one on anything in particular. So I kind of just, picked up a lot of it myself and, learned things as I went.
Now, besides the flute, do you play any other instruments?
Well, I play flute. I play the oboe as well. There's a song on our last album that has a little bit of oboe on it. And then I also play piano and keyboards, and we've actually been incorporating some keyboard stuff that I play into MindMaze. Jeff and I we bring a keyboard to our live shows, and instead of having somebody that's a full-time keyboard player all the time, he and I just use the keyboard to kind of add bits in throughout the set, and I think it really adds a neat element to it, because our music isn't always 100%, calling for all these keyboards in it all the time. So I'm not really sure it would make sense for us to have somebody that is just dedicated to playing keyboards 100% of the time. But it's nice to have it there so that we can like some of the quieter stuff, the ballad songs that have piano in them, it's nice for us to be able to play that stuff and add some of the textures in that are on the albums. And it's kind of just a fun thing to do live. I know it always, Jeff's playing keyboards with one hand and guitar with the other hand. People really like that, so so I play keyboards as well, and then I know some chords on guitar, but I've been meaning to try to be better at guitar for forever. I still haven't quite gotten around to actually practicing, but yeah, I technically know how to play a little bit of guitar too.
Now, what do you enjoy most about being a musician?
The thing that I love the most, I love performing live, and it's really been an interesting road for me, because I've certainly struggled with performance anxiety throughout my whole life. Like I said, when I first started singing as a kid, I refused to do it in front of people because I was just so embarrassed. And over the years of us being in a band, I've definitely struggled with it as well. Sometimes out of nowhere, I'll just be extremely, extremely nervous. But one thing I love about playing the style of music that we play is just the amount of energy in metal. No matter how much anxiety I could have about something, when I get on stage and we actually let loose and the set starts and we go for it, it's all the nervousness and anxiety just goes away. So, live performances have definitely become my favorite thing, which has been tough for me during this time because, like I said, we really have no idea when we might play our next show. So that's been tough. But yeah, I actually will just openly admit I love creating music and I like writing stuff. I haven't enjoyed recording that much. It's weird. I get so much more anxiety over recording. It's something about the process of permanently keeping a record of something that you did, the pressure of that has always just kind of messed with me a bit, and I've gotten better with that as well over the years. But yeah, I still just prefer playing live to recording in general.
Now, what do you hate most about being a musician?
Well, probably one thing, I am never one to, probably in general, that without making it about being a woman in a band, is the fact that, the whole concept of people expecting you to do something for nothing and give them something for nothing. I want to try to get our music out there as much as we possibly can, but nothing is more frustrating than getting a bunch of emails that are can you mail me a free promo CD? They won't take digital versions. It has to be the actual physical copy, which at that point, then that's costing us quite a bit of money because we're losing the money from not selling the product. But then also, sometimes people are can you send it to some place in South America or whatever? And that cost me $23 to mail that. So, that, and it goes with live performances too. A lot of times, it's a struggle to get paid anything, and we're not going around asking for tons of money, for sure. But it's still just frustrating sometimes. That's probably my biggest complaint in general. With me being a woman in a band, it's that adds a whole nother set of issues sometimes. My biggest pet peeve is I can't tell you how many times I've showed up to our gigs, and the people that work at the club refuse to believe that I'm actually in the band. Are you sure you're in the band? Are you sure you're not just selling merch? Yeah, I'm sure. So that's probably my other that's my biggest complaint related to me being a female front person. That's been extremely frustrating. So.
Now, where do you get your inspiration from for the lyrics that you write?
I am mostly just inspired by, daily things that happen in my life, things that I've experienced with people I've met, and, how experiences in my life have made me feel. I know, our lyrical content tends to kind of differ from some other metal bands in that aspect. There are certainly plenty that do like, the kind of thing that we do, but we don't write a whole lot of lyrics that are stuff about like fantasy or, war or, that kind of stuff. Like that we're not usually into like the dragons and swords and all that kind of stuff. We do have a couple songs about pirates that were not my idea to write, but they exist. So, there's that. But mostly, I just write about things I've experienced and people that I've met, and kind of things that have happened throughout my life.
Now, if you could have your fans remember one thing about you, what would that be?
Me specifically, well, for the band, our whole thing right now has been just that we're 100% live, and we've adopted this slogan to keep live music, make live music live again, and that's, that's what we're about. That's what I want people to remember about us, that, we don't get on stage and have a bunch of backing tracks play and have stuff be pre-recorded. Whatever you're hearing when you hear us is 100% live and played by us. So, yeah.
Now, after all these years of doing the music thing, what still keeps you passionate about doing this?
It's weird, but, like, the actual feeling of being in a band is a really great thing. Like, I just love, I love performing, and I love that aspect of it, but some of the best things that I've experienced in my life have been us being on tour, but, like, not when we're playing. Like, the things that happen when you're on the road, like when you're at some random truck stop and everyone's trying on cowboy hats in Texas, or, we're forgetting something in our hotel room. Speaking of Texas, when we were on tour, I actually left an entire bag in a lobby of a Holiday Inn, and coincidentally, somebody I know works at that Holiday Inn by some miraculous chance, and I got my stuff back. But like that, those kinds of things, and all the things that we've seen, just the time that we spent kind of hanging out and making fun of things and all that sort of thing. So probably just the experience of being in a band and having those guys like as friends and people to spend time with, that's been, something that's been extremely valuable to me.
Now, what is your fondest memory of being in this band?
Oh man, I think probably one of my favorite things was, when we did the tour with Saxon and Armored Saint. The tour itself was great, and I loved it, and we met all those guys, and they were super nice, and we had a lot of fun. And it also gave us a lot of experience, because at the time that we got that tour and went and did that, we never really been on a real tour before. We didn't know how to, we thought we knew how to do things and how to conduct ourselves, but, we kind of learned pretty quickly that we didn't. And, so that whole tour was one of my favorites, but I think the day that we actually got the phone call that we got that tour was one of that day was a great day because it happened to coincidentally be the same day that I went to see Kip Winger and got to sing Miles Away with him, which people that know me know that was a great experience for me. But it was also the same day that we got the news that we got the Saxon tour. So, getting that news and being able to go and do that's been one of, that's probably my favorite thing we've done. So.
Okay, now Sarah, can you think of one most funny or embarrassing moment on stage that you've had?
Oh God. Well, I think for me, and it's sad because this hasn't only happened once, but I have ripped my pants on stage several times. Thankfully, as far as I can tell, the 2 or 3 times that I know it happened, I don't think anyone noticed that I did it, but it was just, I knew, and then it was like I was just standing up there the whole time kind of trying not to, move very much because I didn't want anyone to see.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, have you ever tripped on stage and fell down or anything like that?
I have not fallen. I have tripped many times, and I've definitely almost. There have been plenty of stages that I've probably wandered a little bit too close to the edge, and there weren't any monitors or anything there, kind of blocking me from not falling. So that's happened several times. Jeff actually, almost completely fell when we were on tour. When we played in Montreal, thankfully we had a keyboard player for that tour. Jonah Weingarten from MindMaze was with us, and he kind of broke Jeff's fall and prevented him from just completely falling off stage. But it was like he kind of did this like headbang thing and went a little too hard with it and lost his balance and definitely almost fell over. So, but he didn't fall. So no one's actually fallen down on stage, thankfully. But I've come pretty close a few times.
Now, how many social media sites can we find the band MindMaze on?
Oh, there's a ton, but like the main ones that we use the most and are the most popular are obviously we're on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, and all of those sites our username is MindMaze Band. So, and then same thing with our official website. You can go to www.mindmazeband.com, and it has links to our Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, our Spotify, all that kind of stuff. We're on Bandcamp as well, and Bandcamp is a really awesome website that has been doing a whole lot of stuff lately to help support, artists in this tough time. So definitely head on over there. We have the Roads to Madness digital download up on the Bandcamp site, so you can buy it there, and there's other stuff on there as well.
Now, do you have an online store to buy your merchandise?
Yep, if you go to our official website, there's a link on there, and, we have all the albums up on there. We have the Back from the Edge vinyl, we have t-shirts, patches, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do the interview tonight.
Yeah, no problem.
You have any final words?
Just thank you so much for having me, and, thanks to everybody that's been supporting us during this time. Things have been rough, but I promise you, we're doing the best we can, and there's going to be some good stuff coming soon, so.
Awesome. I'm going to close with the song Signs of Life. You have anything to say about that song?
I think that's a really appropriate song, given just the state of everything right now. On the album Resolve, which is a concept album, that's the first point on the album where the, character who were inside their head the whole time is thinking that there might actually be hope and that there might actually be a reason to move forward and kind of pick themselves up and keep going. So I think that's really appropriate right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to spin that song. Thanks again for being on air, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you.
You have a great night and stay safe.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.